Hello YouTube, Message in the Bottle here with another video, and it's kind of been a while, well, minus my last video, it's been almost a week I've been posting. So my last video I just recently posted, which is it's a matter of time. And the reason why I made that video is because I was looking at my social media and I was surprised to see the woman that has been eyeing on me in my last job, her friend is getting married. And I thought to myself, huh, how time flies by. And speaking of time, I feel like it was a matter of time that she is probably gonna have issues in terms of relationship with the guy. Now, why I'm saying this, and I know I sound very. It sounds like I kind of want them to break up. At the same time, I honestly don't. Best way I can put it. Reason why I feel so negative about their relationship. It's because that woman left a emotional scar on me and a realization how common women cheat on their boyfriends and husbands. Then people realize, I repeat, it's kind of common for girls to cheat on their boyfriends and husbands more often than they realize. And a lot of guys, they do not want to accept this reality, but more importantly, they're willing to defend it. I repeat, they're willing to defend it. That's why I made that message video because I wanted to talk both her and him about it, but they blew me off. They blew me off and they didn't care. They didn't give a shit. And you know what? It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine because it's their life. So if they want to like destroy their own life out of hedonism, again, it's perfectly fine. It's their life. Me, I'm living my own life and I'm far, far away from them physically. I'm physically far away from them. So I will not be like seeing them in a physical sense of their lives getting destroyed. I might see them in a digital sense, like in social media, but well, I hope I don't see that. Like if they post their downfall in social media, then I truly believe they hit rock bottom. So why I'm making this video? I'm making this video because what I wanted to discuss about is how guys are so desperate just to get laid. After scrolling my social media, I was digging in my personal pictures, and one of the pictures that I saved in for a very long time has been almost like 5 or 8 years. Yeah, it's been a long time. Basically, half a decade was a picture of my ex, and a lot of people they say that it's better to delete that picture, but me, I really didn't want to delete it because I have very strong memory with my ex. I dated her for 5 years, 5 plus years, and my ex, I literally thought she was gonna be the one. I literally thought it was gonna be a very long-term relationship. But most importantly, she was my first sexual relationship that I ever had with a woman. So at that time, I really wanted to work. I really wanted this to be, a thing that lasts forever. And I bet my money a lot of guys wants this for themselves. A lot of men out there they want to find quote unquote the one and basically invest a lot with the person that they care about to to be in a very long-term loving relationship. But of course, because of today's society, we kind of destroy that harmony. All because women they think they're how do I say this? They think they are oppressed, but in reality, the relationship between man and woman is all about partnership and fulfilling each other roles. Since I'm using a video game in the background, well, this is a fine video game, but in other video games, especially if you play like video games that are based on teams, like team shooters, it is super important to understand your role. And if you want to win the game, especially in the game where you're playing with other people, and basically a team game. In team games, you have to understand your role, what you're playing as, and if you want to win with your teammates, you have to fulfill your role to to the fullest and to the max efficiency. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is to give you guys an analogy of how important roles are. If you're playing a video game and you're playing as the healer, you obviously gotta fulfill your role as the healer. Heal your allies that are in hot mess. Enable them because usually in video games, healers they also provide buffs, so they're also called enablers. They enable their teammates to perform their task above their default efficiency. And yeah, and tanks and damage dealers, they have a role to fulfill. Damage dealers, obviously, as the name states, they gotta deal damage, they gotta secure kills, they gotta max out their damage and dish out the damage to their enemies fast and quick and efficiently as possible. Tanks, they're all about absorbing damage, they're all about protecting the fragile teammates from damage dealers and other um, you know, attacks. And basically, the tanks they're like the stewards of the teammates. So, and sometimes tanks they come in with crowd control, so they also have to um, put down the enemy and make it easier for the damage dealer to secure the kill. And as I stated before, the healers they are all about healing and they're all about enabling. So with this analogy of video games, especially with a video game in the background, but I'm playing a fighting game, it is super important to understand the role that you are fulfilling. Now, I truly believe that the reason why a lot of women believe that they were quote unquote oppressed back in the day is because the role of the woman seemed less, how do I say this? Less dominant, less appealing, less attractive, less in control, if that makes any sense. But here's the funny thing. That's kind of the point if you're gonna be a follower. When you're a follower, as a follower, you're supposed to fulfill a role, which is basically follow the lead of the individual that is taking charge. The man usually is the one that takes in charge, and this is ingrained in our biology. That's the saddest part. This is ingrained in our biology. Majority of women wants a man to lead, and I clearly remember when I was with my ex, she followed my command, but not out of me being, being the one shouting out authority or anything like that. No. Matter of fact, the more I think about my relationship with my ex and the times when I was leading the relationship, I usually lead because I wanted to plan out and have a good time with her, and she understood this. She understood this, and majority of the time when we hang out and had a good time, it's because I was the one making the plans and basically took charge of, hey, let's go out at this place at this specific time. Let's enjoy ourselves. And usually it ends up me and her having a good time. My ex, she followed my lead because she understands this and she understands that I want the best for her. See, right there, guys, that's there's no oppression right there. But my ex, she on her own will, she decided to be a follower, and me, I end up being the leader. And right there, that's the role that men and women usually by default, by biology default, ends up doing. So because men are usually the leaders and women are usually the followers, a lot of women they think that this type of dichotomy, this type of roles is oppressive. In reality, it's not. As a matter of fact, if you look at history, the general history, the general population, what people think, what people feel, their diaries, if you read any like books about people's lives back in the day, you could clearly tell that they were not being oppressed. You could clearly tell that women were not being oppressed. Now, there are bad apples here and there. There are abusive relationships. I'm not saying abusive relationship never existed back in the day. No, they definitely did exist, and tragically, some of those abusive relationships they got away with it. So yeah, that's the tragic part. So there will always be bad apples. There will always be men out there that truly see women as lower class or subhumans, and those type of men, they I believe they won't reproduce anyway. So I hope not. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that majority of the time, 80% of the men truly believes women as their partner, but at the same time, due to biology instinct, us men we end up taking the leadership role, while a woman, through instinct, they end up being the follower role. And the most attractive trait a woman see in a man is leadership. Now, why I'm saying this? I'm saying this because a lot of people tend to forget this, and a lot of women they also tend to forget this. But more importantly, women themselves they want, how do I say this? They want the privilege of being in a relationship without the responsibility. That right there is the main reason why a lot of relationship ends up getting destroyed, because it tends to be on the woman's side where she makes the final decision of whether or not she's going to take the relationship seriously, or she's going to bail out, or she's going to cheat on the husband or boyfriend. So yeah, one of the one of the things that I remember that stuck in my head was talking to my boss, and my boss told me outright, you can't control a woman. Even though my boss did everything on his part to do the best he can to be a good husband, to save his marriage, to save his his lifestyle. Because my boss he was married, but his marriage is going downhill, and he realizes he's getting a divorce. And he did on his end to try his best to save the marriage, to be a good husband, etc., etc. The problem is when he went to marriage counseling, and when he see his therapist was very straightforward with him that his wife is a narcissist, and there's nothing much he can do because, again, woman has rights, woman has legal privilege. And the reason why I say legal privilege is because there is something very wrong in our society where women they get to destroy their marriage, they get to destroy their relationship on their end because they have the final say if they wanted to. Us men, we technically do have the final say, but most of the time, men they want to stay in the relationship and be loyal with the woman that they committed to. That's the majority part. There are men out there, but those are usually assholes who don't care about relationships. So if they cheat on their girlfriend or their wife, it's because they kind of see it as something disposable or something they could get away with it. But anyway, I'm going off topic here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that women they have the final say in the relationship most of the time, and because of that, a lot of women they tend to take that route because they understand that there's no consequences for them. So what this relates to what I had to say in the very beginning of me talking about that guy. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that that guy, I truly believe that he is desperate. He wants to be in a relationship with that woman, but that woman, she has the final say if she wants to stay in that relationship. And if she wants to, she could cheat on him without consequences. And I have a gut feeling that she's fully aware of that. I have no, I don't know anything about that person's life. I really want to talk to him, and I wanted to tell him my side of the story. In case of you guys are lost in the sauce, I'm talking about the guy who was in a relationship with this girl in my last job, and I made a YouTube video about it, especially my last video. And I talk about how this girl was eyeing on me, but she's already in a relationship with this individual. And I wanted to talk to this individual because um, me and her were complete strangers. I barely know anything about her. I mind my own business, but yet she was acting weird whenever we interact. And because we're at work, we have to interact regardless. It's part of the job. The thing is that this guy, he wants to believe in this illusion that she is only attracted to him. But there is the possibility that a woman could be attracted to many other men. And that right there, I think that's the illusion that he wants to defend so badly because he wants to get laid. And me as a man, I understand this completely. I understand this. The problem is, I had an experience with a woman, my ex, and through my experience, I realized that you have to you have to learn the other individual, basically learn who they are, what type of person they're like, because you're gonna be investing a lot with them. Me, I invested 5 years of my life with my ex, and which, by the way, that those 5 years were no lasting matter, and yet we broke up, and the breakup was devastating to me. So me, I wanted to talk to that guy because that guy, he badly wants to stay in a relationship, stay in that illusion that, hey, this girl is attracted to me and only to me, and I'm gonna get laid. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, getting laid is super overrated, and the reason why I'm saying that, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of criticism for saying that, but I'm gonna say this, and I feel like people, they'll agree with me on this part. If getting laid is the end goal of life, how come a lot of men that got laid are fucking miserable? I repeat, why a lot of men that got laid are freaking miserable? Getting laid is not the end goal. Staying in a loving, happy relationship in the long run, that's the end goal. But sadly, that only a very few percent of the population has that privilege to experience that. Me, I have a strong memory with my ex because in the heat of the moment, I felt like my ex is the one for me, only to realize that it was just, just my hormones speaking to me, my dopamine speaking to me. That's why I wanted to chat with that guy, because I have a feeling that he's gonna be miserable when after he gets laid and after he had his fun time with his girlfriend. I have a feeling that he's they're gonna break up and he's gonna be super super devastating. In other words, I'm trying to save that guy from a bad relationship. That's why I wanted to chat with him. But this guy blew me off, and this guy badly wants to see me as the villain. When in reality, I'm just a stranger who worked at the same job as he did. And the only reason why we interacted is because we were co-workers. And the funny thing is, and he knows this, outside of work, we have absolute zero interaction. We never interacted in social media, we never interacted in person. The only time we interacted was at work, all because we were co-workers. And he knows this. But he wants to see me as the villain, as the boogeyman. Oh, all because his girl was eyeing on me. And if his girl was eyeing on me, that's a sign that he's in a bad relationship. but he wants to stay in that relationship all just to get laid by a beautiful woman. And I'll admit she has a pretty face, but he's gonna learn very, very quick that you have to you have to get to know the individual properly before you invest in them long term, because if she has the power to destroy him, and he's gonna learn that the hard way. Well, guys, I feel like I ranted enough. I feel like I'm blobbing my words all over the place, and I hope you understand the video. I'm gonna end it here, guys, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and please leave a comment down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Message in the bottle, over and out.